Time to shit on Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
We'll cut that out. No worries.
Yum.
But yeah, shit on Notre Dame. Yeah.
Don't cut it out. That should be the lead-in. Okay. Time to shit on Notre Dame.
Don't worry. I think Alabama has squeezed out enough shit on Notre Dame that what can we do at this point?
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Moose Club. We are going to do another sports episode here. And kind of keeping up with our last one, we're going to talk about the college football playoff now that we've had the two semifinal games with Alabama and Ohio State winning. They'll play on the 11th, I think, January 11th. Bama opens as like essentially a touchdown favorite in that game. So it should be it's a pretty big favorite in football terms. So not exactly surprising, but yeah. So I mean, Notre Dame, honestly, I know we're gonna make fun of Notre Dame, and we absolutely should, but it was a closer game than I was expecting. I thought Bama was going to win by 21 points, plus. So, I mean, I guess in that sense, Notre Dame's improving. I mean, they still haven't won a New Year's bowl game since like 1998. So, I mean, there's always that. Yeah, no, just I mean, there was never any question of who was going to win that football game. And then on the flip side with Clemson, Ohio State, I don't think anybody expected that. I mean, I think there was plenty of people that thought Ohio State might win the game and that it would be, but I don't think anybody thought that Clemson was just going to get blown out. But how great. This honestly is a bigger deal. I am more about making fun of Dabo Swinney right now than I am making fun of Notre Dame. Like, ranking Ohio State 11th in his last coaches poll, and then they lose by 21 to Ohio State, like just get torched, like give up 48 points, 49 points, whatever the hell it was, like just get absolutely boat raced. Like, oh God, I loved it. And I have a lot of dislike for Dabo just in general before all this. So like that was just the cherry on top. Just a great way to end 2020, start 2021. What did you guys think of the games and kind of then maybe we'll talk about what we think for the national championship game.
Yeah, I think the Alabama game was pretty on par with what I thought. I mean, it got closer probably more or less the second half because, you know, they were kind of taking their foot off the throttle. But, yeah, I don't think the game was ever in question. I think the score indicated a closer game than what it was, and the score wasn't that closely anyways. But for Ohio State, I mean, I don't think it's any question that I love to pick on Big Ten football. And, you know, Ohio State just came out and won that game. Won it against a team that is as historically relevant for a 4-year, 3-year class with the running back Etienne and Lawrence. You know, that those two put up numbers and win records that are pretty impressive all time. So for Justin Fields, who I can admit I'm a fan of after watching that game, and Ohio State to go out and do what they did was really impressive. I do think Clemson came out flat and didn't have a good game plan, which, you know, Dabo probably ended up blaming on the players' execution. But I don't think no matter how flat they came out, for one, that comes back on the coach, but for however flat they were, Ohio State just outmanned them. And they went out, had a better game plan, they executed it, and just like Kyle said, boat raced them.
You know, what was interesting about the I mean, I obviously watched the Bama Notre Dame game, but like, you always knew what the outcome was going to be, so it wasn't really, exciting. But like the Clemson Ohio State game, there were, first of all, what you mentioned, their running back Etienne or however you say his name, was he there when they won their first national championship? Was he I feel like he's just been there forever. I feel like he was there when Renfro was there. Like I feel like he's just been there forever. But I mean,
I think he
I
has
haven't
been
watched.
a 4-year starter. Maybe not though. I think he has been a 4-year
Yeah,
starter.
I mean, I haven't watched a whole lot of Clemson this year, but I was like, oh damn, this guy's still around. But in that game, there were those two really long touchdown passes that Fields threw, and like, I mean, Ohio State won by 21, but both of those long touchdown passes, the Clemson defender was like right there, and on one, his arm was behind the receiver. Like if his arm was just just in front of his body, it's an incomplete. Like so, there was like a couple plays where like it could have been two long touchdowns that could have easily just not been touchdowns. But I mean, that's not to discredit Ohio State or anything. Like they made the plays, but I mean, I think it was a closer game than what the scoreboard indicated. But I mean, Ohio State they just came out firing. Like, but what did you think of the games, Bork, and just the first two, the semifinal games?
Well, I mean, yeah, obviously me and Joe are the two SEC homers here. So, I mean, it's tough to take the Alabama Notre Dame game seriously, honestly. I mean, as not the Alabama fan here, but like just on its face, tough to take seriously because we've seen how all of those matchups end up playing out. Just just the slow grind of it's either the score is just out of reach before halftime, or it's just the slow grind of okay, field position, touchdown, now you're trading field goals for touchdown kind of Notre Dame game. It's like you have to have game breakers at your skilled positions at that point. You just have to, and I think that's what makes, once you bump up to the Clemson Ohio State matchup, I think that's what makes that game so much interesting, is that you have people who can separate and potentially, like you said, an arm is one way or here or on the other side of the body, and you got a pass breakup, or you have a huge touchdown to swing the game one way or another. And it just never seemed like, I mean, Notre Dame's big player, their tight end, I mean, he's just a solid target across the middle kind of tight end.
Right.
He's not like I'm going to beat whoever's covered me split out on the edge and just take it the distance kind of situation. So yeah, I mean, I would 100% agree that the Clemson Ohio State game was probably closer in reality than what the score indicated, but I mean, Ohio State was just on another level than Clemson was for that game, whatever you want to say what that's worth for, but that game, I think me and Kyle's bet on not necessarily bet, but call on taking a Big Ten team over the past time frame as opposed to a ACC team over the past time frame aged pretty well there. That, I mean, Ohio State plays everybody. Plays everybody tough generally. I mean, there's only a couple of games that I can think of that Ohio State absolutely is just outmatched on a talent basis. But as far as that's concerned, like they recruit with everybody.
Yeah, I mean they bring in
so
the athletes. Like
exactly, and
they mirror their SEC personnel.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's 100% true. Just look at who the Ohio State sends into the NFL, and just wow, so top tier players.
It's not like typical Big Ten of like offense, defensive linemen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're getting the skill players.
It's Michael.
Exactly.
It's Michael Thomas. It's
you'll see a running back come out of Wisconsin, or a lineman come out, stuff like that. Yeah. Aside from that, though, you just have to deal with just the absolute shit-eating hubris of Dabo to say that Ohio State, given what Ohio State, I mean, say that they do play out their full schedule. I mean, obviously, they could lose a game here or there, but probably not. Based on recent history, they don't. I mean, even the other good teams that come from the other side of the Big Ten, they maybe give Ohio State a game for a half, and then Ohio State will blow them out in the Big Ten championship game. It's like, okay, that's why they're there, just because they have game breakers at all the positions. So, I mean, it was good games. All of them were relatively fun to watch. I mean, you just got to see Alabama's star players put on a show, and then, from our hate squad, just to see him eat a colossal bag of shit for how good's Ohio State? 11. So there you go. That's what the 11 ranked team looks like in Dabo's eyes. So you hate to see it.
I think
it was actually pretty nice to come out of watching Ohio State win and not be like extremely bitter because, I'm not a fan of Ohio State. But if there's anybody or anything I dislike in college football more than Dabo Swinney, it's coming out of a night than Ohio State. It's coming out of a night watching Notre Dame and Dabo Swinney lose. That was pretty amazing.
Yeah, no, it was. No, it was just great. It was great. But okay, so for the national championship game, man, I mean, I'll probably put money on Ohio State just because that's where the value is, and like they play really, really well against Clemson, and Clemson's as talented as anybody. But I mean, that's just more of a just trying to just win some money type thing. Alabama is just nuts. Like, this isn't Alabama. Like, and I mean, Alabama's been this way for a few years with Tua and like having good, like Jalen Hurts was a good college quarterback. Like, he was highly recruited and stuff, but like he wasn't a guy that had an elite arm or anything like that. Like we're with Tua, like a guy that could really throw the ball. But like, this isn't the Alabama teams of, the 2010 where, they're playing LSU to a, 9-6 ball game, and they have an elite defense with, they have skill receivers on the edge, and they have a really good running back, but don't really have any quarterback to really, like, they're just loaded. Like Devontae Smith and Mac Jones, like and Najee, like their skill players are insane. Like, and they're still elite defensively with, really good offensive line, and they are a really, really, really scary team. Like Ohio State might be able to match up closely, like from a talent perspective, but like the depth, I mean, Alabama just has guys at every position, 2-3 guys at every position that you could just slot into most programs and would be like, it's just crazy. So, I mean, if this isn't a double digit game, I would be surprised, actually. But I mean, has Alabama had a close game this year? Aside from the Florida game, that was a close game. But have they been? Like, I'm trying to think. Like, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out like how I could like rationalize like Ohio State being like Ohio State could win this game. Like they could legit win this game. Like I don't know. I just don't.
If they go out and play like they did against Clemson, I mean,
yeah,
they're in it. I think the thing about Alabama is with the 3 skill positions of quarterback, running back, and wide receiver, I haven't seen a trio like this probably since. I mean, you can think of some, but as like NFL ready talent since like maybe USC or those Miami teams. Like,
right.
I'm not a huge Mac Jones fan, but I mean, he's good. I think he won't be anything more than like an AJ McCarron in NFL, but
oh yeah, sure.
But I mean, Najee Harris is going to be a good NFL running back. Devonta Smith's going to be
good,
obviously It'll be good.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a trio like this in a while. So, but the thing that's always pissed me off, watching Alabama through the years is, we hear about this great defense, but they've been giving up a lot of points to teams that they shouldn't be giving up as much points. I mean, Bork might disagree with this. I don't think an elite defense can give up 40 points in any game. I mean, Florida's great. I'm not taking anything away from them, but if you're elite, you're
They
not.
did have the number one scoring offense in Alabama's defense, or
That's fine.
number one passing offense. Excuse me.
Still 40 points.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Mm-hmm.
So, and they've done this multiple times. I mean, they went in against Ohio State 7 years ago and had one of the greatest defense of all time and just got slaughtered by Ardell Jones, who didn't see an important snap in the NFL, and Ezekiel Elliott. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Michael Thomas is on that team too.
Oh, Michael Thomas. Sorry, not taking it.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is
Ohio State had some players. Yeah.
You know, you mentioned that Mac Jones probably won't be anything more than an AJ Karen, which I think you're probably right. Is there any school that has had more elite college quarterbacks that amounted to nothing in the NFL than Ohio State? Like Troy Smith, JT Barrett, the Fields, Terrell Pryor. Like they always get these super elite. Yeah, they always get these super elite college quarterbacks that are like, either Heisman Trophy winners, like Troy Smith, or in the running, or like just like really good, really good. Like JT Barrett. I have a friend who's a Michigan fan who would always say like JT Barrett's not a good quarterback. I'm like, JT Barrett holds like not all, but pretty close to like all the Big Ten passing record. Like he was like JT Barrett was an all-time great college quarterback, like really good. And I mean, this is like they don't translate, and I mean the games are obviously super different, but I don't like. I think Fields is probably. I don't know if Fields is going to be a good NFL quarterback. Probably not, but no, it's just great. I don't know how they just always. I mean, why would they care? Like, I mean, if you're Ryan Day, like, I mean, you don't. Sure, you want your guys to do well in the pros, but I mean, you're worried about winning college football games. So, like, but
the Bears got one of the best Ohio State
Jeff George
rating quarterbacks of all time in the NFL, Craig Krenzel.
Craig Krenzel. Wait, I said Jeff George? Didn't Jeff George play at Illinois?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Jeff George was definitely on Illinois.
Craig Krenzel.
I mean,
I was one of the backup quarterbacks when Rex Grossman was kind of doing his thing at the end of the Super Bowl year.
Who was the quarterback for Ohio State, like back when they had frickin' Maurice Claret and all them?
Krenzel.
Was it Craig Krenzel? Is that who it was?
Yeah. He's the quarterback of the national title team, which is so funny because I used to love those. Dude, Ken Dorsey. Oh,
Ken Dorsey was just
Miami teams are awesome.
Yeah. No, it's.
I mean, as going back to the Alabama Ohio State game, aside from who's going to cover Devonta Smith, I mean, it seems like what Alabama has figured out that all NFL teams have figured out, aside from some few exceptions, is that if your running back can catch passes and wherever they're out of the backfield, lined up in the slot, there's just so many defensive rules that people have to get through to try and get a good matchup on those people. And I mean, given that Alabama's offensive coordinator is already headed to Texas, that it's tough to imagine that who's Ohio State going to put on.
Yeah,
I mean, it is a tough matchup for running backs, strong safeties, and like, what are you going to do? Put a corner on some of these people? It's like, yeah, I guess, but I don't know. You put some weight on some receivers, and it's like, how does that go? Like, do you think you have do you have a top 10 draft pick in your either your linebacker core or your defensive secondary, specifically safeties? Because those are people that are probably going to be taking the running back. And unless you have NFL level talent there to tackle an NFL level talent running back, you're going to have some problems there. And that's,
Right.
I mean, that's how Alabama and Florida ran up and down the field on each other, is that they just had NFL talent that they just neither team could really cover. And it was almost a matter of just who had the ball last.
Right. I mean, if you can protect well enough with your offensive line where you can afford to split your running back out and you don't have to keep him back there in protection, like, man, it's so hard on defenses. Like, it is just so difficult. Like linebackers are not covering. I mean, because like a running back's not a tight end. Like, I mean, most like a running back is that's a whole lot more difficult to cover in space. Like, it's like, so like, yeah, like, I mean, you put a running back on somebody like that, like, they're going to get beat. And
right. And generally the trade-off was always, oh, these guys just can't catch.
Right.
It's like,
yeah.
Well, now you can't play running back unless you can catch the ball. It's like,
right. Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, I mean, there's the obvious exceptions of like, and the game's changed, you know, just in the short amount of time. But like a guy like we were talking about before all this earlier today with like Derrick Henry in the NFL rusher, like
exactly,
he doesn't catch balls out of the backfield, but like,
right.
Okay, but you don't have to when you can run for 2,000 yards in the NFL. Like,
exactly,
most guys can't do that. So like, you have to be able to
catch
the ball out of the backfield, and not only catch the ball out of the backfield, but if you can split out and like, I mean, man, it's just so tough. Like, it's so tough. But I mean,
you really start breaking defenses rules when it's like, okay, so now the running back is lined up as a wide receiver. So does the linebacker go out and cover him from the middle there?
Well, and that's what makes Ohio State so difficult is their running back. I mean, he ran for 300 yards against Northwestern in the Big Ten championship game. But he catches the ball in the backfield really well. And then I mean, you can split him out, but then you add in the fact that Fields is mobile and he can run the ball too. Like, I mean, like, man, like, it's so like, it's getting to the point now where like, I don't understand why defenses don't, you almost always just have to put a spy on the quarterback and just say like, hey, this guy's, if they're throwing the ball, like, this guy's not in coverage because he's just gonna, I don't know. It's a chess game. Like, it's so, and Sarkisian going to Texas now, like, obviously, like, he's done a lot of really good things.
Is he gonna coach the national? I mean, I
didn't
think
see
he
anything,
would, but
typically in the past with Bama, if I'm not mistaken, usually if they've had an assistant take a job somewhere else, I think they've not coached in the national championship game.
See, and that's what I thought, but
yeah, I'm not sure. I was wondering the exact same thing when I saw that was announced, but I don't know. But okay, so real quick, what are your predictions for the game, and then what do you think the winning margin is going to be? Or
I'm going to say at least a 10-point Alabama game. At least. That's what I'll put my, maybe like a 30-20 game or something like that.
Yeah.
Something right around there. But I think there's just going to be some plays that you're just going to have to tip your cap to having the other team's got a better player in that position to make an insane play. And yeah.
Joe, what do you think?
I mean, I would kind of mirror what Bork is saying. I would say like 34-27, 34-24. But if the spread gets upwards of like 9 points, I'm putting heavy money on Ohio State because I think I've been an Alabama fan too long. They will somehow it'll be made a game of. I just know
that must be real tough with your however many national championships in the last 15 years. God.
Sorry. We play real football.
Right. Couple weird turnovers and the game's close and it's tough to But
I'm gonna
I think it'll be closer than expected.
Just because I just want to be different.
It pissed me off.
I think I'm going against like my better judgment, but I just think that I'm just gonna get it on the record and say that I think Ohio State's gonna win the game. and I think they're going to win the game. I think it'll be they'll either win by 3 or by 7. I don't think they're not going to win by anything more than that, but I don't know. I think they're feeling good.
This is literally just to set up the fact that he can say he was right and I was wrong. That's our whole friendship in any subject.
Yeah.
It's
and I'm usually right. So
you're not usually right. Okay, mister, I'm going to bet the house on North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Election night?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you can –
I'm always right.
If your brother's listening to this, tell him thank you. Goodness gracious.
You listen to the wrong keg.
Yeah. All right. Like, follow, subscribe, share Moose Club Pod. Catch us on Spotify. Find us there at the Moose Club. Yeah, we'll do some more of these sports episodes here with some of the big events and all that good stuff. So, but yeah, otherwise be on the lookout for future episodes. Thanks for watching.